Hey, good morning, church. So grateful to come and spend a few moments with you talking about First Samuel chapter 27. Now, as we get into this, I want you guys to see if you can figure out the message that God had given David. He missed it, and it leads him down a very intriguing path. I'm going to give you a hint. It's found in First Samuel chapter 26, verse 25. Now, let's start right here. We learn that David is once again on the run, and this time he's decided to go into the land of the Philistines. He's already been kind of interacting with them, but now he's going to go into the land of the Philistines, and he's going to stay in a city called Ziklag. It's not in Gath, the capital, so he's not directly under the view of Achish, the king of the Philistines, so he can kind of come and go as he pleases. While he's there, he starts making these raids on some enemies of the tribe of Judah. Now he lies and tells Achish, "Oh yeah, I'm going into to Judah, and I'm messing with Judah." And Achish is like, "Oh, this is good because he's making himself a stench in the nostrils of the Israelites." And the truth of the matter is, he was actually endearing himself to the Israelites because he was taking on their enemies, those who would potentially do them harm. Why the deception? Why did David do this? Do you remember what the lesson was? You see, the lesson, and Brother Bob, both Bobs actually have mentioned it. Brother Josh mentioned it last week too. Every time David asks God what he's supposed to do, God gives him an answer. David typically goes and does what God told him to do. There's a couple times he misses it, but typically he goes and does exactly what God told him to do. He's successful, and God delivers him from potential harm. And in chapter 26, verse 25, we even see Saul starting to recognize this. Saul literally looks at David. He says, "Blessed are you, my son. You will do many things, and you will succeed in them." You will succeed. You're going to be successful. The guy who's going to replace Saul as king is going to be successful. Even Saul sees this. So why doesn't David? Why does David, instead of inquiring of the Lord and doing what God tells him to do and staying safe, because God has given him instruction, he's protecting, why does he revert back to this kind of fear and anxiety of Saul's going to get him, and so he's got to go hide in a foreign land, and then he's got to lie to that king because he doesn't want that king to find out that he's just kind of biding his time until he can be in charge. Why the deception? We know God doesn't like lies. We know he doesn't approve of lies. So why the deception? Why would God allow David success while he's lying? To answer that question, I'm going to remind you of something Jesus said. Jesus said, God makes the rain fall on the just and the unjust. We don't always understand why God moves the way he moves or why he does what he does. But that's the real key, right? That's even the lesson that David missed. Faith is not about understanding what God is doing. Faith is about trusting that God is doing. God is going to put David on the throne. He's promised it. It's going to happen. Nothing can stop it. Even Saul starting to understand. David is under the divine protection of the Most High God. So he doesn't need to lie. He doesn't need to hide. He simply needs to trust. I pray that as you go through this chapter today, you would be encouraged to look at your faith. Is there areas of your faith where you're trying to understand what God is doing instead of just trusting that he is going to do or he is already doing it? Are you moving with that trust to do what he's calling you to do? Or are you sitting back and asking for more information and trying to understand and glean more so that you feel more comfortable? Faith isn't about comfort. Faith is about trust. I pray that as you read this chapter, you'll be encouraged that God is faithful. Even when we mess up, he doesn't. He doesn't abandon us and he doesn't leave us. And I pray you will learn the lessons from the life of David to trust God, to seek his will and seek his counsel, and then do what he calls you to do. May you be blessed this day as you read 1 Samuel chapter 27.